Besides not being English, why does anyone respect Antony? Some people even claim he's not cut out for football. He's so one-footed that he passes and crosses with the outside of his left and barely uses his right. He's no Arjen Robben. So one-footed that he's easy to defend against because you know he won't take you on the outside. He disrupts attacks because his passing isn't sharp, always just passing it back inside rather than moving forward. Cuts in and shoots and, of course, misses, which leads to turnovers. These are the comments you often hear from United fans about Antony, but is he really that bad? Last season, Antony played 29 games, and the only team he managed to score or assist against was Newport County. Yeah, Newport County. They're in the fourth tier of English football, and he did that in the FA Cup. Like, seriously, that's not what United paid big money for. Remember, United splashed out a whopping 95 million euros for this guy back in August 2022. He was just 22 years old back then, and that price tag made him the 13th most expensive player in history. But think about this. If Antony had joined for like 10 to 20 million pounds and still performed poorly, he wouldn't get this much hate. That huge fee wasn't his fault. Manchester United's own recruitment team put a price tag of 25 million pounds on Antony when he was playing for Ajax. Turns out Antony wasn't the golden goose United scouts thought he was. They even rated Antony Ilanga, another winger, as more productive. Then Erik ten Hag set his sights on Antony. Meanwhile, Ilanga got shipped off to Nottingham Forest. And guess what? He's tearing it up there, scoring goals, making assists, the whole shebang. Oh, and he even stuck it to United by scoring against them. Now back to Antony. Ajax initially wanted around 60 million euros for him, but United's negotiators were like, nah, we're out. But then they came crawling back later only to find out Ajax now want a whopping 95 million euros. Ten Hag is practically begging for Antony, and United, feeling the pressure, coughed up the cash. 3 times of what their own team valued him at. I mean, who does that? When Ten Hag and Antony reunited in Manchester, Ten Hag trusted him right away, and Antony delivered. He scored 3 times in his first 3 league appearances that month. Everyone was hyped, but people knew that hot streak might not last forever, but no one expected Antony to cool off so much. After that, he only scored 5 more times across all competitions for the rest of the season. Despite his struggles, Ten Hag kept having faith in him, playing him in 44 games during that debut season, with Antony starting in all but 5 of those matches. Then things changed. Antony's been benched in United's last 9 league games. The lowest point came with Rasmus Højlund out injured. You'd think Antony would get a shot, right? Nope. Ten Hag chose Omari Forsen, a 19-year-old academy kid making his first senior start over him. And later, when United needed a spark, Ten Hag brought on Amad Diallo for just his second Premier League appearance in almost 3 years. Antony finally got on the field in the 9th minute of added time, right after Fulham scored their winner, and had to play left back on his 24th birthday. So did Ten Hag drop him? Simple. Antony hasn't been playing well enough. Even though Ten Hag has always backed him, he couldn't ignore the lack of performance anymore. Antony knows this too. He's admitted he hasn't shown the consistency needed to keep a starting spot since coming back to training last September, and it's been a rough ride for Antony off the field as well. His ex, Gabriella Cavallin, accused him of attacking her 3 times, including an incident where he allegedly assaulted her in a car while she was pregnant. She also claimed he headbutted and punched her in a hotel room in Manchester, damaging a breast implant and injuring her finger in another incident. While on international duty in Brazil, Antony was dropped from their squad when these allegations surfaced. United gave him some time off to handle the situation. He returned to the UK later that month and even had an interview with Greater Manchester Police. After almost 3 weeks away, he came back to Carrington and resumed training. Then there was the Champions League showdown against Bayern Munich. It was do or die for United. But man, did they come up short, and guess who got caught in the spotlight? Antony. Antony came up face-to-face with Alphonso Davies on numerous occasions. At one point, the 23-year-old did a couple of mini stepovers, and then Antony pulled off a fancy move, or at least he tried to. But instead of leaving Davies in the dust, he ended up handing the ball over for a throw-in. United fans were fuming. One of them straight up said, "I've never disliked a footballer so much in my life." And if that wasn't brutal enough, another fan questioned if Antony was even Brazilian. And Ashley Cole straight up said he wouldn't want to be Antony's teammate at United. And guess what? Antony had a chance to prove him wrong in a big League Cup match against Newcastle United. But man, did he fall flat. Antony started the game, but it was like he was invisible out there. United ended up crashing out of the competition with a dismal 3-0 loss. And Antony, well, let's just say he didn't exactly light up the scoreboard. Erik ten Hag, who knows Antony from their Ajax days, hasn't thrown in the towel just yet. He's still banking on unlocking Antony's potential and turning things around. Antony's got one shot, one chance to prove he's worth every penny United spent on him. Antony had this stellar run at Ajax, banging in goals left, right, and center, racking up assists like it's nobody's business. Clubs across Europe were drooling over him, thinking they found the next big thing. But here's the twist. When he rocked up at United, it's like he brought his showboating skills with him. Now, don't get me wrong, Antony's not been a total flop at United. He's had his big moments, but let's just say he hasn't set the world on fire. And man, the fans, they had big dreams for this guy. They wanted a speed demon, someone who'd leave defenders eating dust. But instead, it's been a bit meh. Personally, I reckon Antony's got some work to do. He's got to up his game, think faster, and show more guts on the pitch. Dude's got talent, no doubt about it, but he's got to believe in himself more. United didn't splash all that cash for nothing, right? Before Antony joined Manchester United, his stats were off the charts compared to players in Europe's top leagues. Antony's passes into the penalty area, crosses into the penalty area, and progressive passes were all in the top 3% in Europe. His shot-creating actions were also in the top 3%. His dribbling? Elite. He was in the top 10% for carries into the final third and carries into the penalty area. In his last 2 seasons before joining United, Antony was a beast at finishing chances. In the 2020-21 season, he was one of Europe's best finishers, with a positive 0.19 performance on his XG per 90 that put him in the top 6% of wingers. But at Manchester United, things have been a mess. His finishing has dropped off big time. Last season, he underperformed XG by negative 0.14 per 90, which was in the bottom 2% of Europe. Seriously shocking. Ten Hag's been trying to make things work with different tactics because of injuries and player issues. His dream tactics for Ajax haven't been possible yet at United. Antony's been held back by these not-so-great tactics and a style that's not really helping him shine. This doesn't excuse some parts of his game where he needs to step up. Football is as much about mindset as it is about skills, and with his poor form and the wrong tactics, Antony's not been able to play his best. Unlike other United players, Antony's bad form can't be blamed on injuries. He's been fine in that department, and he's been working hard too. His defensive stats are among the best in Europe with top 1% numbers for blocks, tackles, and interceptions. His poor finishing this season is partly because he's hardly had any chances. With just 0.20 XG per 90, he's been super isolated. It's kind of like what's happening with Højlund, though Højlund's still managing to finish well with a positive difference between goals and XG. This season, with new signings and players getting fit again, Ten Hag should finally be able to use his preferred tactics. That will help Antony get back to his best. If he can't step up then, fair enough to criticize him. But so far, his time at United has been rough due to a bunch of footballing reasons. He's faced a lot of challenges, but next season might just be his chance to turn things around. But this next signing by Man United can be a match made in heaven. And you must know the scary truth about Manuel Ugarte nobody is noticing. Trust me, you'll want to see it. And if you haven't, subscribe now.